That's one thing I'm really thinking a lot about, because we need to realize that in this new AI era, we all have to be students again, even the more senior ones or executives, because we need to learn how to think in new ways and be curious on what's next. I don't think we even can imagine what's going to happen because everything is going so fast.
Welcome to Morning Brew for Marketing Executives, the podcast where senior B2B marketing leaders from globally recognized brands in complex industries share their stories and experiences. Here we dive into the world of marketing leadership and hear more about what it's like to be a marketing leader. In this episode, we're diving into a hot topic, AI, and who better to explore it from a marketing leader's perspective than the Chief Marketing Officer of Microsoft Sweden. Helena Kappen, CMO at Microsoft Sweden, shares her insights on how AI is transforming marketing leadership in the near and medium term, and where to begin. Helena has been with Microsoft for nearly 10 years, holding 5 different roles, including positions in Western Europe and industry marketing management. We're excited to welcome her and hear her perspective. This episode is hosted by Yanni Hovila, the Managing Director of Maven First, who has over a decade of experience working with marketing professionals in a complex sales environment. Let's get started.
Hello, Helena. How are you today?
Hi, I am great. Thank you.
It's great to have you in the show. And how did you end up in your current role? Or would you give a brief introduction of who are we talking and having as a guest today, Helena?
Yes, of course. So making a long journey a bit short, but after I graduated at Uppsala University in Sweden, when I took my master's in media and communication and business, I ended up at Ledarna, the Swedish organization for managers. So that was a great first job. Worked in marketing, of course, learned marketing basics. But after a few years at Ledarna, I felt the urge to switch industry to something more perhaps fast-paced. And I wasn't really sure on which industry. So at that point, I decided to pursue an MBA at Copenhagen Business School to learn new strategic thinking, leadership skills, but also have some time to really figure out where I wanted to go next. And after that year, when I graduated at Copenhagen Business School, with my MBA in my hand, I was headhunted by Microsoft. So they had a position at their trainee program for MBA students as a product marketing manager position. And I have to admit that at that point, Microsoft was not on my bucket list of potential employers. So it was quite interesting because I had to really rethink, and I had to say to myself, well, it's worth a shot. Let's go to that full day of interviews in the Stockholm office. And once I set my foot in the door, I just felt, wow, the people, the culture, the environment, it was buzzing. So, after that day, I had completely shifted my mind on going into tech and Microsoft. And I really wanted to have that job. But luckily enough, I was offered that job the same day after the full day of interviews. So I started then, it was almost 10 years ago. So since then, I've actually had 5 roles. So this is my 5th role now. So I've been in the Western Europe area region, taking care of 10 markets. I've been a business group lead. I've been an industry marketing manager. And now currently I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Microsoft Sweden.
That's a long Microsoft journey. So a couple happy accidents or coincidences, and then it's the rest is history, as they say.
Yes.
Definitely. We are recording this in early June, and it's always interesting to hear what's on your desk right now. Are we in the position that we need to finish all things before summer and plan the Q3? Or have you things already in place and covered and AI doing the planning for you?
Not
right now.
Not really. So Microsoft, we start our fiscal year in July. Yeah. We're actually ending the year right now. So I'm deep into planning for our fiscal year 2026. And that is actually my favorite part of the year because it allows me to, take a step back, look at what's worked well during the past year, what should we continue with, what should we not continue with, really dig deep into the numbers and insights. But also, since we are a global company, we are getting strategies from Microsoft Corporation in the US. So, of course, I have to take that and look at it as a local level and kind of figure out what do I need to change? What do I need to adopt? What is great, but I need to just make a twist to make it local. So I think it's really fun times and it's, setting us up for success, hopefully, for the next year. So I really love this period. But my second thing that I'm doing right now is preparing for Microsoft preparation in Almedalen, the Swedish Politician Week.
Oh, that's going hand in hand with topic for today, probably something regarding AI. Maybe there's something, it's fascinating to see how the politicians and all the regulations and everything is hot topic at the time in EU and Brussels and everywhere. So it's an interesting place to be. Now, when you're in a yearly planning, not just quarterly planning, without going into, of course, too details, but would you be willing to open any challenges you are facing or working right now, or some top priorities you see now for the next year or so? From your point, of course, not going into too details or any competitive advantage level stuff.
No, but I think it's a lot about scaling AI and make scaling a priority. So we know that we need to upskill a lot of people in AI. So that's a big priority. Doing that in the best possible way, because of course we have a lot of great products, but if people don't know how to use it, and I'm talking both, of course, like the Swedish citizens, but also spreading the awareness of AI and what it actually does, and helping people to maybe overcome that barrier for starting their own AI journey, implementing that in their work.
Definitely. That's a big battle. Big challenge, I bet, but we will probably hear more about that later in this recording and in this episode, or maybe when time goes and we see how the next 12 months are going to go. Long stint in Microsoft, did you mention 5 different positions?
Yes.
So this is your 5th position. So what keeps you motivated? Different marketing position, regional, area level, industrial, and now CMO for Sweden. What keeps you motivated, Helena?
I think I touched on it in the beginning when I talked about how I got introduced to Microsoft. It's the people and the culture, actually. And for me personally, also working together with great teams, great individuals who are generating results by teamwork, creating magic together. That's what really motivates me. But I think also working in the tech sector right now, because it's so fast-paced, everything is happening so fast. So I really thrive in that environment. I really love it. It's some uncertainties, of course. You don't really know what to wake up to some days, but I really like that personally, and that motivates me to try to make a difference in that scenery and do my best at work. So, and I think I've always been motivated in some sense to lead in change and transformation and making a difference in that. And looking at marketing discipline right now, we are in a fundamental transformation. So I am really thriving, and I think the ways is really reshaping our world in real time. That excites me. It's very, very fun.
Introduction to AI. Why is it a big deal, Helena? Or is it a big deal from your point of view?
Yes, of course, it's a huge deal. And as we were talking about earlier, I think, AI is clearly redefining the marketing function and everything. We can move faster, we can do deeper personalized campaigns, we can measure more precisely, and so on. There's a lot of things that we can do better and faster. But right now, the big deal is that we have the opportunity to reimagine what marketing can be. Because as you were saying earlier, it's not the same as it was 10 years ago. It's something different. And for marketing executives, that's of course a big deal. It's a huge deal. So I look at AI as just not a tool, of course. It's more of a transformational engine. And as I said earlier as well, it can drive major business growth in a way that we haven't seen before. And also the pace. So we're onto something really big here. And I don't think we are quite there yet, but we are on that journey. We are in it right now, which is so exciting. So if I can give you an example, if we can take a step back and look at what happened when Microsoft had our big digital transformation, I think it was maybe 7-8 years ago. So before that digital transformation in marketing, we looked at one marketing signal. We treated that like one lead. So it didn't matter what source it was coming from. It didn't matter the quality. It was handed over to sales. And of course, it was very hard to see the return on investment on campaigns by doing that. It was, very hard also to get that good relationship with sales because they didn't really trust what they were getting from marketing. So we weren't exactly best friends back then, I would say. So I think Microsoft at that point realized that we had to do something about that. So we formed something called the Global Demand Center. And it's kind of a digital framework structure for now our entire marketing system. So in Global Demand Center, today we collect and process thousands of marketing signals. It can be local or global. It can be if a customer joins an event or downloads a white paper or, do a trial on a product. So it's everything. And these signals now also allows us to provide relevant follow-up information to the customers. And that is based on what we know about them, of course, their interest, what industry they are in, if they're working in a big company, a startup. And we do that like through the whole sales cycle, of course, now. And we also use machine learning because then we can predict which accounts our sales organization should focus on. And that, of course, have made the leads so much better. So depending also on the type of lead, it's either handed over to a physical salesperson, a digital sales, or maybe customer service. It depends, of course. And another thing with this Global Demand Center is that we get insights from all these signals. So we can actually create campaigns from it, from the data, really tailored campaigns, which is working really, really well. So this, of course, took some years to build the Global Demand Center and to get it, up and running the way we wanted. But I think, just looking back at those years, if we would have started that project now with AI, things would have moved so much faster. So we could probably prototype something within half a year or something similar. And of course, now when we are applying AI and generative AI to Global Demand Center, improving different functions or functionalities, it has become so much better in a very short time as well. So that's just an example on how we used to work before and how we are working now, and the speed of what we could do right now. And I think that's fascinating. So obviously, it's a big deal for marketing executives because the way we thought marketing was working or how we worked is changing.
Of course, we have a bunch of AI marketing consultants, and that's kind of their discipline. And in one of our executive roundtables, we talk about AI, and we had 12 marketing executives from complex B2B industries present. And one of the key questions for the group to discuss was how this will affect our workforce, how many FTEs we need in marketing. So from a marketing executive standpoint, do you see this affecting our resourcing, our headcount in marketing? And will it actually increase or decrease our headcount, just kind of from your point of view and with your experience?
It's a little bit of a tough question, but right now I don't see decreasing headcounts because it depends on the position, of course. But I think we have to remind ourselves of that human touch, human side. So for me, AI is not replacing humans in that sense. It helps us, focus and prioritize so we can, maybe let AI do the more boring work. It, helped me transcribe meeting, I can record meetings. It helped me summarize emails. It can draft emails. It can draft blog posts. It can do a lot of things. But that is not like I am being obsolete or, that someone would take my role, because then I can focus on what matters more. So more strategic work, looking more into insights. And I think you also have to be very clear on that AI will never, I don't think so at least, replace that human side, because the identity of a brand, for example, you need the human touch to kind of do that. So AI can do a lot of, the work for you, but not the last mile. And I don't have the answers here, obviously, but I think it's difficult. Some functions, yes, it might, erase some of the headcounts or blueprints, but then we have the opportunity to actually invest in other areas where AI can't help us.
Yeah.
It's just, I think it's more of a switch.
Yeah. So like what kind of workforce, what skills and capabilities we need. And maybe it's like my question with AI is what happens to all those trainee junior level jobs, how you're going to learn the ropes and learn the industry and get to work with your first job, maybe listening in meetings, taking notes, drafting messages, drafting the first drafts. And if AI takes kind of big part of that, like, but it's probably for another hour or so for a discussion. But
I think so too, but I think we also need to rethink what marketing used to be then. So maybe there are going to be new entry-level positions for junior marketeers. And that's one thing I'm really thinking a lot about, because we need to realize that in this new AI era, we all have to be students again, even the more senior ones or executives, because we need to learn how to think in new ways and be curious on what's next, because I don't think anyone really has the answer.
yeah, and the pace is so fast. I just fumbled to some article about what's it called, AI AES. So like when AI is more clever than the humans combined, when they have all that in place. And in that article there was some, maybe it was from a private equity firm or something like that, that they think that is in 6 years and how that will affect things. So it's of course it's all forecasts and predictions right now, but when you think now from that marketing executive standpoint in, let's say, complex B2B industries, how do you see first the near term, near future changes affecting already with the capabilities within AI right now? Some people sit in almost like an island that AI is not affecting right now, but how you see, what are the near term effects and changing for the marketing leaders?
Well, this is also a bit of a tough question, but as I was talking about previously, AI is reshaping our world. It's doing it right now, not tomorrow, not in a couple of months. It's right now. So we are in it right now. So I think the most important, and maybe it's not how it's actually reshaping the leadership right now. I think it's more about how you have to think about leadership, since we are in it now. So you need to really have that kind of growth mindset about it. You have to rethink everything. So both in short and long term, embrace that growth mindset and realize that AI is a huge opportunity, because I think also some marketing leaders might be afraid of AI. The things you were talking about, will they take my job? How do I start? It's difficult. Also have that kind of learn and fail, but fail fast, try something new. So it's really about the mindset here. So I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, and I, of course, I'm pressing you for predictions, and I understand it's easy to give predictions, but to get those right, it's a little bit tougher.
Everyone can guess, I think, but it's very hard. It's very difficult, and it's like $1 million question.
Yeah, definitely. When you think about AI adoptions, for me, of course, I'm not very deep in AI. We use that in our own work, and of course, we see our clients use that in different ways in different industries. But I'm nowhere near AI expert. So, do you have anything to make it a little bit more simple way of thinking about AI?
Yeah, this is a good question, because at Microsoft, we are kind of describing how AI can transform your organizations on 3 different levels.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, this has really helped me to kind of structure everything, my mindset more strategic. So the first level, and this is built like a pyramid, so these 3 layers. So the first level is in the bottom, and it's kind of more individual, personal value for you as an employee. So this is everything that AI can help you do to be more productive. For example, when you are transcribing meetings in Teams, when I ask Copilot to, summarize my emails, what have I missed the last week? Did I forget to answer anything? I can write prompts to get simple answer. It can help me draft blog posts or social media posts. So on that level, it's, some tasks that can be very time consuming and boring, where, Copilot in this case, since I work at Microsoft, can really help you being more productive. So I can spend more time on things that have more strategic value to me. And also I have started on this level, to really try to get my head in the game to create a bit more simple agents in Copilot. So my favorites here is I build an agent that prepares me for leadership teams meetings. So it is trained to kind of summarize information and to pull information from Outlook, from Teams, from files. So it really keeps me up to speed on the topics I should focus on. And, it's easy to forget something. Oh, yeah, I worked with that last week. I don't even recall it now because it's a new week. So it helped me to, constantly be updated about my priorities and what I should bring to the table in those meetings. So that was really good. And I also created a research assistant for marketing research. So I pointed it to a local SharePoint where we Microsoft have stored a lot of different marketing research. So that helps me stay up to date when I, for example, have presentations that I'm going to do for larger audiences when I really want to be up to date. These are some things that I've done on a personal level and for me, for my own productivity.
For many, AI is the prompting part. Now you mentioned the word agent. What's the difference of me prompting something? Hey, can you describe or can you translate this to me? And then AI will do that. What's the difference between prompting and agent?
Well, prompting is something that you can do in Copilot, for example, and you get a very quick answer. Agents is kind of the next level. So agent is more of your collaborator, your assistant, or whatever you will call it. And you can actually set up an agent in Copilot if you have a subscription, of course. And it might sound very difficult and that you need to be very tech savvy to do this, but it's really, really simple because you just do it in your Copilot in Teams, and it has a structure on how to do it. You just need to kind of know the steps. But it really makes a difference because then you have it there and it's always there. So I can just pull up that one that I've created. And you can also train it to maybe if you're creating a newsletter agent, for example, you can train it to, write in your tonality. So it's very easy and it gets to know you. So it's the kind of next level of productivity.
So agent, if I'm thinking like prompting in Copilot or any of the AI, I don't mention any of other AI in this call, but agent is basically the next level that they can do stuff for you. So So
and this is actually, taking us into the next layer in this pyramid. So then we're talking about the functional value. So by that we are referring to the introduction of Copilot and agents. So here we can looking at more of the automate business processes end to end. So of course you can create more simple agents that do tasks, but here you can also create agents that does things for you, a bit more complicated things, spans across several steps, for example. So here I can create my own agents as well if I'm a bit more tech savvy, but you can also use agents that is created by your organization, for example.
On the functional level, can you describe or give an example what are you using or from a marketing executive standpoint, what can you do on the functional level?
Yeah, I created an agent called Chief Marketing Officer that can help me with a lot of things, planning campaigns, looking into different marketing models, taking that into account. And we can talk a bit about that more later, but it's something that helps me on several steps in my marketing. It's just not only one task, like create this newsletter. It's more a process of things that helps you.
Yeah. So it's more about taking one process or multiple processes and teaching agent to do that end to end for you. And then you might input something to that and then validate the outcome for market analysis or campaign plans or something like that.
And it's something that is more of a broader value for the whole marketing team. It's not just for my individual productivity. It's something that has a value for the organization. For example, doing a campaign end to end.
Yeah. All right. So we have personal value, that's the efficiency, how to work more efficient with AI and of course agents, then functional value, end-to-end processes. What's the tip of the pyramid?
On the tip of the pyramid, you have the organizational value. And here you can really create tailored applications, very specifically designed to meet very unique needs of different business functions. So in the end, this really enables you to, if you are doing it right, of course, gain a competitive advantage because you can, for example, increase your company's ability to react faster to marketing challenges. Microsoft is building a pilot right now here, which is called Content Composer Agent. And here it helps you with everything, from taking a draft, developing assets, developing text, and it also publishes it on the websites, the campaign, or wherever you want to have it published. And it also, you have the fine-tuning in the end. If you need to change something, it kind of looks at the outcomes and the KPIs, so you can really fine-tune it. So it's several steps. And of course, I could never build something like that for myself because it's too advanced, but it's even more complicated with the steps and everything it can do.
Yeah, that sounds scary. Are we kind of letting go, or what happens in the world when it's basically machines creating that content based on the data machines and have done already? So how you make sure in that example that the quality standards and it's actual valuable content to the listener and not just kind of averaging all content? Do you get my point of view, or
Yes.
why I'm afraid of that?
And I think this is why it's so important that, when we're talking about AI and that AI is doing some things for you, you can never lose that human touch on the output, because of course the AI content composer will produce, for example, let's say it has gone to the stage where it produces assets for you. Of course, it's not like you're just going to take them and say, okay, this is good to go. You need, of course, to have that look at it. And I think many of the times you will not end up using the first idea that came out of that. But I think what's the magic here is that the time that it can give you different assets. So if we were looking at that specific task, you can use fine-tune it to say, no, I want it to look more like this. This was not aligned with our brand identity. I think you should be more humbleness or whatever it can be. So it's always about the marketeer having the final word or fine-tune it. You're never going to get something that's 100% good. So that's something I think is extremely crucial here. You're not letting go of everything. You're still the final sign-off, or, you are the one helping AI to, make it even better based on your knowledge, based on what you know about the brand and so on.
Yeah. We talk with many of our clients the importance, not from an AI standpoint, but the importance of proprietary data. Like all companies have proprietary data in some form or another. Maybe industrial company has data for all the components they use around the world with their customers in OEM manufacturing, and data from how some wheels work somewhere. Or maybe it's a professional services company knowing all the data. So it just kind of begs the question that if I now go to some AI tool that has been taught by the general information around and write the blog post on marketing leadership, that's not going to provide a bunch of value, probably because it's so averaging out everything already published. But just kind of how you describe the strategic level and the next stage of that end-to-end content composer, the need for that proprietary data is even greater, so that we can make sure that it provides value. And now it's kind of never-ending race, because when we publish it, it's then common knowledge from that standpoint. So we need to create more proprietary data. But that's just my thought process on how I listen in and hear that. So very interesting stuff. Now, from that strategic level, if we go to the real life examples, and a bunch of our listeners probably think, oh, it's easy to say you are Microsoft, you have your CRM data in place, the data accuracy is in place, you have big muscles in corporate and in group and in local businesses. Easy to say that let's build agents, you are the one having AI in place. But if we take now that one marketing executive, old-fashioned industrial company, 20 people team, 15 people team, how do you start? The CRM data quality is not top notch. Sales don't want to use CRM, or they use it. Sometimes some regions use, some not. How do you start?
Well, if you are having that problem, I think you need to start with that because you need to have a good data platform, of course. So you need to start, by looking into why are the CRM system not working? Why are people not using it? So, but I think that's another question. But it's really important to have everything in place, of course. But I think it's important to start off with, and it doesn't matter what kind of company you are. It doesn't matter if you are a global or a small startup, because you still will have pilots to, try and scale from. So it's important to look at what are your marketing priorities, what's your strategies, and try to prioritize impactful pilots in that area. So at Microsoft, we actually decided to identified 5 key areas where we wanted to start applying generative AI. So we choose 5 key areas. And of course, we had, a big vision on where we wanted to be, but we didn't start that big. We started with 9 smaller pilot projects connected to these 5 key areas. So you need to kind of start small, but also you need to be very, very mindful of, that everything should be aligned to your marketing priorities and strategies. And also be aware of course, depending on the size of your company. For larger companies, the technology landscape that you're working in, martech stack can be pretty complex, working across different platforms, third-party apps, and so on. So you need to have that structure also in place and know how it will impact your martech stack as well. But we also use these 5 key areas and 9 pilot projects. We didn't take just one marketing department. So we tried to take different user groups from different, one from advertising, one from core marketing and so on. So we tried to mix one from PR. And what we did was that we also brought these groups together to learn from each other and also to see if there was any synergies between the projects. And I think that's key as well, to not work in silos, marketing silos, that is, by doing this, because you have something to learn from everyone. And if you also listen to other people's, mistakes, but also wins in this aspect, I think it will motivate everyone and creates a lot of synergies. But try to also create one kind of steering committee or group for these types of transformational projects.
Yeah. So starting small, starting with pilots, structuring, like not try to figure out everything at once, fail fast, learn as you go. It sounds like any other change management initiative I have been part of.
Yeah.
So is there anything new things to now, like if we take any change management initiative, is there like new things to think through when talking about change with AI, or how do you start? Like another aspects that makes it different than any other change management initiative?
I actually don't think it's so much different than any other change project. I just think that some people are a bit afraid of AI, and that makes it a bit harder. But you just have to overcome that part.
The pyramid, 3 levels, personal, functional, strategic. Would it always be important to start with the personal level, like just to get to know AI and the agents before trying to solve bigger problems, end-to-end processes with the functional level? Or can you kind of pick your journey kind of stuff? What would be your recommendation?
I think you should always start on the individual level to learn some basic knowledge, to try yourself. I failed a lot when I first started to build agents, but you just have to try again. So it's important that you get kind of an understanding for how it works and that it's not something dangerous.
I'm intrigued to ask, you mentioned the 5 categories and pilots you used in Microsoft marketing for AI, implementing AI. I'm not sure if you can answer, but when did you do this?
I think it was
Like
about
2024?
1.5 years ago or something. And I can mention the 5 key areas. And that was more of a broader scale, something we called web AI assistants. And that is because Microsoft is, of course, translating thousands and thousands of web pages to different languages for different products quite often because we have a lot of product updates and so on. So we created, processes and agents that could do that for us with a very fast speed. And then, of course, we have one key area that is about content creation workflow. That's quite a standard one to choose, I think, because there's so much that goes into marketing and communications there. And then we have customer insights. We have marketing operations and last sales enablement.
Right. And why I asked the time frame, just to kind of grasp, if I'm starting now from a competitive advantage standpoint, I already have give you 1.5 year head start. So just kind of thinking from our client perspective and our listeners' perspective, that now you have already, of course, industries and not all compete with Microsoft, but just kind of giving a perspective that now there's 1.5 year head start in AI adoption comparing if you start now. Can you run me through and our listeners through the marketing officer agent for Copilot? That's basically plug and play if you have Copilot license. Why did you create this? Maybe we start what it is.
Yeah, of course. So this is an agent that we call the Chief Marketing Officer that can help you create marketing plans aligned with your business objective, of course. It helps you to choose the right channel based on your data and return on investments. It can, bring in models like SWOT analysis, PESTEL, STP, and so on. So it can do a lot of things. And we also kind of gave away examples of over 60 prompts that you can use with this agent, from simple to hyper complex in that end. So it's actually an initiative to try to upskill Swedish marketing managers. And it was a collaboration with Ledarna, the Swedish organization for managers. And we really want them to start the journey with agents, to try to experiment with this. And it's a way to show that it's actually kind of simple. You just have to start. So we want to make generative AI part of everyone's everyday work. And it's a way to try to transform the way people lead and think about AI. And I think the best part is that you can make it your own. You should make it your own, of course, taking in your own brand, your plans, and so on. And that's when you can create magic with it.
So when was the marketing officer agent published, the first round?
Yeah, so we launched it 1.5 months ago when we actually had a seminar with Marknadsförening here at Microsoft Office.
What are the best use cases you have seen others use, or do you have any feedback like the most valuable use cases for the marketing officer agent, or anything else you want to now kind of give us an example what you can use that for from the real life use cases?
Well, I think it's all about what your needs are, because you can do a lot of things with this agent. So what I've heard as feedback is that, this is so great because it helps me with, what's on my table right now. So it depends, of course, what kind of daily challenges you have or what project you are working with. But what's great about it is that you can train it to, use your tonality, your brand identity, and so on. So it become yours. But you have to experiment with it yourself. And I think that's the key. When using agents, you have to do some work yourself, getting in the right input to get your perfect output.
We talk a little bit about the hard part of making predictions, but would you be willing now for this recording in early June 2025, to forecast a little bit from a marketing executive standpoint? What are things coming in the future regarding AI, how you see what the industry is buzzing, or something you have maybe saw or experiment already that's not ready to available for all of us laymen not working in one of the AI companies. So would you be willing to give us a little bit of forecast? Even I know this is probably the hardest question to answer for any of us.
Yeah, it's a really, really tough question. But I want to emphasize again the agentic world that we are going into right now, because I see that as something that's coming more and more, and it will become big. So I think we just started that journey right now with agents. So that's something to watch out for. But again, I have to say, like, let's say in 5 years' time, I think both you and I are going to stand there and say, oh, wow, I could never anticipate that this would happen. So that's the thing right now. I don't think we even can imagine what's going to happen because everything is going so fast.
We always like to end with a couple easy questions, almost easy at least. If you could give other marketing executives one tip that they could implement right away after listening this episode, what would it be?
So when it comes to AI, if you haven't already, get started. The key is to choose one process and connect it to your marketing goal and start a pilot. And you have to prioritize training and adoption and change management because this is new to many of us. And real business value from AI won't just come by turning it on. And managers as well, they need concrete user enablement programs, for example, to succeed. And of course, a lot of support. But also, of course, measure the impact. Be very clear on, what outcomes you want, and so that you know what's working and what's not working. And always stay grounded in business outcome, I would say.
That's a great tip. My favorite question. If you could get your marketing resources 3 times what they are now, what would you do? And if the only rule is that it needs to be sane business investment still. So 3 times the resources, money and people, what would you do?
This is a very exciting question, but I would invest in customer co-innovation projects. So, for example, we have a lot of customer building AI pilots with us. I would really like to have more budget to create reference case stories together with them, so we can showcase, all the fantastic things we are doing with customers. And also, I can see one other area that is also kind of related to customer co-innovation is when we are doing large events. For example, we had a big AI tour at Annexet Globen in March, where we gathered over 1,500 people in person, and creating that kind of community together with customers and partners is really something else. And I think that creates a sense of belonging, which I think we all need today, and it does something. So these are the 2 things I would invest in if I got more budget.
So the really human connections and meeting people in person. It's
Yes.
we have here that surprising lot in these episodes when we ask this around. So it's not only push this all to digitals, but it's maybe it's the COVID-19 era and afterwards that we really see value in that human connection. You have had long career in different leadership and managerial positions. What would be one tip you could give yourself when starting in your first managerial position?
So I think, leadership is not about having all of the answers. I would say to myself, it's about asking better questions, building great teams, making sure everyone thrives, because that will generate great business outcomes in the end. Also, make sure to have a lot of fun. And I think leadership is about lifting other people and letting them shine. And last but not least, make sure you lead from yourself and the person who you are. Otherwise, it won't work.
Excellent tips. Excellent tips. So we have covered 1 hour approximately different aspects of AI. how to use, where to start, great examples, what you have learned along the way. If our listeners crave more information and want to hear from you more your thoughts about AI, leading marketing, what's the best way to contact you or follow you for these insights in the future?
I think the best forum is LinkedIn. So just search for my name on LinkedIn and feel free to connect with me. That's the best way.
And we will also add those to the show notes as well, or link to your LinkedIn profile. First of all, thank you, Helena, for coming to the show and sharing your insights. Very exciting stuff. We probably need to think through, should we have this updated version in 6 months or so, as things move so fast. And for our listeners, thanks for joining us for this episode of Morning Brew for Marketing Executives. And have a great day. Thank you, Helena, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to Morning Brew for Marketing Executives. We hope you found today's episode insightful and inspiring. If you enjoyed the conversation, please subscribe and leave us a review. It helps us bring you more stories from marketing leaders. This podcast is produced by Maven First. For more information, please visit mavenfirst.com.